It's one thing to have, to lose a parent that you had an unhealthy relationship with. It still sucks. But to lose a relationship, God, with your best friend, your best man, my dude, that one's been hard to bounce back from. My name is Ryan Rohan. Hear my story. One of my first memories growing up was probably when I was around 2 or 3 years old, and I walked into my parents' bedroom and they were arguing and yelling at each other and just told me to leave and walk away. And so from early age, I knew my family was dysfunctional. My parents divorced when I was 3 or 4, and my 3 sisters and I took the journey to Austin, Texas to go live with my mom, and would only see my dad a couple times a year, and I'd have different men, from my mom's walking in and out of the house, and it was just chaos. It was screaming, it was fighting, it was yelling, it was unhappiness, but I didn't know anything different. I grew up seeing my dad twice a year, and it was fun and exciting, and I would make the trip from Austin, Texas to Atlanta, Georgia to go see him, but I would enter back into the chaos of my family in Texas. I was inundated with a bunch of, my mom would tell me all kinds of things about my father, that my father wasn't there, that my father chose to live 1,000 miles away, that my father didn't want to see us, that my father chose the new wife over, my mom. And so I didn't know who to believe, what to believe. I remember one time at 11, I picked up the phone and I called my dad, and I just said, "Hey, Dad, do you love me?" And he goes, "Well, of course I love you." I said, "Well, if you love me, you'll let me come live with you." And he goes, "Ryan, it's a little more complicated than that. There's custody stuff and all kind of different child support issues that were going on." As an 11-year-old, I didn't care. And I said, "Dad, you have 30 days. And my mom agreed to it and drove me the 1,000 miles from Austin, Texas to Atlanta, Georgia. And I moved into a house with my dad and a stepmother, moved away from my sisters and my mom. It was a huge learning curve of discipline and trying to figure out rules and boundaries. But I remember my dad, he signed me up for baseball, and the year before I'd quit because I'd gotten hit a couple of times when I was batting. And my dad signed me up, and I just wanted so desperately to show him that I could make him proud and be a good athlete. And when we were, we'd throw in the yard, we'd play basketball together. It was an amazing experience. Yeah, I mean, everything was like really amazing. At 13, we started going to church, and I found faith in Jesus. And my dad and I sat down in the living room with the pastor there, and I said, "Yeah, I want to follow this Jesus that you're talking about." My dad goes, "Me too." And we kind of looked at each other, and it's this moment of like, okay, like we're both on this journey together. A few months after, we started going to church, my mom kind of re-entered into the picture, and she told me that she wanted me to come back and live with her. And it was this curveball because I was kind of going, this is great. I'm living with Dad. This is awesome. But she wants custody of me. She wants me to come back to Texas. And, for her, she wanted the child support and the finances to go along with it. And so we had this massive court case custody battle on my birthday. With the court case, again, I was 13. There were so many factors that I was unaware of. And I was actually put in a room and isolated by myself while they had the court case. Both parents had to agree for me to testify. My mom wouldn't agree. And so I was in this room and didn't know what was happening. I was actually supposed to go out to lunch with my mom after the court case because it was my birthday. And after I found out that she was fighting for me, when she came in the room, I said, "Go away, go away." And I'll never forget, there was this moment with her lawyer came up to me, put his kind of finger in my face and says, "Kid, you've been brainwashed. You've been brainwashed." And I just kept yelling at them just to go away, get away, go away. And then me and my dad hopped back in the car and drove the 3 hours back to Atlanta, not knowing. if I was going to be staying with him or my mom. And it wasn't until a few weeks later that the judge ruled that I could stay at my dad's. But it was a defining moment for me and my mom's relationship of just this manipulation and mistrust, and that we were never really able to overcome. So, I mean, a few weeks after the court case, the judge called my father, and I was able to go live with my dad, and it was a done deal, and things were back on the up and up. Life was good. Sports was great. I was loving life. But it was in 11th and 12th grade that my mom really started kind of going downhill, and her addiction to drugs just really kind of went on this wild, this wild ride, where there was months that went by that I had no idea where she was. There were times where I didn't know if she was dead or alive. She kind of went in and out of rehab first couple of years of my college. And I really didn't know if my mom and I were ever going to reconnect. You know, it was difficult. I remember there was one Mother's Day where I decided not to call her. And she called me the next day and asked me why, and I was just kind of confused. And she asked me, "Ryan, would you consider going to counseling with me?" And I said, "Mom, I'd love to. I want a relationship with you. I would love to." And so I said, "I'll schedule it. You know, come out in a couple months. We'll make it happen." And a couple months later, she called and said she wasn't able to come. And I knew something was up, and I was really hurt and frustrated. And then 2 months later, we found out that my mom had died because of an overdose. And you know, in those moments, there's for me, I lost every bit of hope of having a relationship with a mother, because I always hoped that her and I would have a relationship, and with her being gone, all hope is gone for a relationship, you know, with her only son to my only mom. So for me, there was these moments in life that things were going great. I felt great about myself, my relationships, my future, and then out of nowhere, it would be like just a sucker punch to the side that would knock me out. But after my mom, you know, passed away, I was able to kind of, you know, cling back to my wife, and we began to have children, and to see, you know, Riley being born was amazing. And just to be able to hold a baby and to love my daughter in a way that I never even thought I would be capable of was amazing. And and things were on the up. And then my wife got pregnant again, and in her second trimester went to the doctor, and there was no heartbeat. And we had to go into the hospital, the same hospital that my wife delivered my daughter. And we had to deliver our other daughter who wasn't alive. And I remember holding Finley after she was born, and completely lifeless, and for hours, again, staring at her and thinking about, you know, the hope that was lost in the relationship of daughter to daughter with Riley and her, with me and this daughter that was not alive anymore. And it was just another moment of just a sucker punch. So after the miscarriage, I mean, we were again blessed with 2 more kids, a son, Bradley, and my daughter, Carly. And but they were a blast. We had 3 kids, 3 and under, running, crawling all around. And it was amazing. And it was in this time where I got to really spend some quality time with my dad. And my dad was able to semi-retire and had some free time. And we got to go on a golf trip together. And man, my dad, I would call him every day. Every day I would call him. And it was just so fun. It's so fun to talk to, and such an encourager. And then a few days after Christmas, our whole family went down to go see him in South Florida. And he asked me to stay up late one night. And so we had a beer and we're talking, and he goes, son, I think I have cancer. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And tell me more. And he didn't really know all the specifics of it. It was just beginning stages. And so he's going to get some tests done in a couple weeks, and we're going to figure it all out. And so we prayed together and laughed together and cried together. And then it was just 3 weeks later that he passed away. And it was sudden. Again, I wasn't prepared for it. Nobody could answer all the questions. But my dad, I mean, the rock, the stable figure, the phone call, again, was just taken away. I never, I think in all of the pain, the sucker punches, I can grasp maybe a little bit of understanding, and and people have gone through all kinds of stuff, but like as I've looked at my friends, and there's very few people under 40 that doesn't have a mom and dad. Yeah, so I mean, I'm 38 years old, and it seems like I've gone through a lot of ups and downs, and I think every single one of us go through different valleys and mountaintops. I joke, I probably shouldn't. I joke to people all the time that going through all the things that I've gone through, and I feel like I'm okay. But either I had this tremendous faith in Jesus, which I really do think I have, or I'm gonna have like a breakdown when I hit 50, and I don't know. I think looking back at my life, Jesus being faithful and present in every situation has given me this confidence that, like, man, I can bring it on. Like, I don't want more tragedy. I don't want more crap. But I also know that when everyone's left, when everyone's been taken from me, like, Jesus has been present and faithful and stable every step of the way. And there's not been a time in my life that I can ever remember of feeling completely alone. Not maybe alone in my like earthly relationships, but like every step of the way, I knew Jesus was there while I was in the hospital holding Finley. Jesus was there when I was mourning my father's death. Jesus was there during the court case. Jesus was there when my stepmom left. Jesus was there on the 17-hour car ride from Austin, Texas to Atlanta, Georgia. Like, Jesus was there. And so like I have this wild confidence that whatever comes my way, I'm gonna be okay. Hey, I know sometimes it feels that life just isn't fair. And I would just say, don't give up. You have to persevere. You have to know and believe that the things you're walking through today is preparing you to be the better man, the better woman, the better father, the better mother for later on in life. And if you trust Jesus with everything, he will always, always be there.